Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scots on the Run podcast, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in the Gordon College cross-country and track and field programs. In this episode, we're opening up indoor season, and Henry Lonstein is here to help us out with that. But first, as always, Coach Miela, how's it going?
It's good. I am very exhausted. You go right, as a coach, you go right from cross right into indoor season. I mean, really, the only break we had was Thanksgiving, and then we were right into indoors. So it feels like finishing a 400 or 5K or whatever, where it was exhausting, and you feel exhausted, but you're also glad that you've got some time to rest now that we're into Christmas break and we don't start back up again until January.
So I guess we should start with Rachel Brennan.
Yeah.
She was her own separate meet.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't her meet,
Well,
but yeah.
yeah, she was.
Yeah.
While the rest of the team was one place, she was.
Yeah, she was part of the hoopla over there at BU. Obviously, even as we were talking about Parker Bowley and who's the guy? I mean, there's the guy from Harvard. They broke some big records, some big races over there.
Can I just pause here because
Sure.
I asked you specifically earlier in the week if I was going to be needed at this meet at all.
Right.
And you told me no, so I figured I had the weekend off. But I'm a big Gator fan.
Yes.
I bleed orange and blue. If I had known Parker Bowley was going to be there, then
Ben.
yeah, I would have absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you asked me if I needed you there. I mean,
Well,
Rachel could do this by herself. So, I mean, she at this point, she doesn't really need a whole lot,
Fair
No,
enough.
but so obviously, I think when you have athletes of a certain caliber, you want to put them in a position to run their best, and sometimes that requires going to races where there are the best people. We sent her and Carolyn down to pre-nats in October, and we really wanted to capitalize on her being fit from the nationals circuit. And so, yeah, she went out. I think she had like a 20-second PR, something like that, maybe 15, to break her own school record in the 5K. And, we'll see how that stacks up. I mean, again, the idea is that you put up a big time that can hopefully get you in a spot to make nationals for indoor. And, in our first indoor season, that would be great to send her to indoor nationals as well.
Well, it was a 17:16.91, which she ran this weekend. Her previous was 17:36.01, so about 19-20 seconds, like you were saying. So that was Rachel's weekend. The rest of the team was at the Suffolk Relays at the track at New Balance. So tell us about that.
Well, the track at New Balance is probably one of the premier facilities in the country. We try to get on that track as often as we can. It takes less than an hour for us to get there. I mean, I guess it's the same for BU, and that's certainly a huge benefit to being in this area of the country, and particularly Gordon. I mean, I know I'm not having to talk about the meet yet. I love the location of Gordon in that we can be just outside the city and have this kind of great serene campus, and then we're only 30 minutes, 40 minutes from some of the best competition, particularly in the indoor season. But so we were there, and every time you go into a first meet, these athletes have been training hard since September, and we do time trials, we do these things in practice, and people look good, but you never know exactly how they're going to race. You never know exactly how the hundredths of a second, how the tenths of a second are really what the stopwatch is going to say the day of. So when we went through, and I'm looking at it now. I mean, there was only a handful of races where an athlete didn't run a personal best. That's certainly a really good day for a coach when basically everybody has ran a personal best in at least one event.
So what other individual performances stood out to you from this weekend?
Yeah, I remember Lizzie Gaskill. She actually broke the long jump record, our indoor long jump record, by a centimeter, and then she went and ran the 60 right after that, and I think she was either the first or second one of our athletes to run the 60. And she ran out and ran 8:24, and I thought she'd be more in the mid-8s. And so when she ran that well, as a coach, you're thinking to yourself, okay, she's doing all the other stuff that, she's doing all the stuff that everybody else is doing. And so we're probably positioned to have a pretty good day. And then Amaris Goodwin comes out, and she PRs by a full tenth of a second, qualifies for New England, breaks her own school record in the 60. Daniel Tuning, he broke the indoor long jump record. So he didn't actually compete indoors last year, so it was his first time jumping indoors. He broke the old school record in the 60 as well. But actually, his teammate, Henry broke his old school record before Chewy got a chance to get in there and break it himself. So you could say, we had the two fastest 60 times in our school's history, pretty much back to back. And I'd say probably, when I looked at all these great performances, it was hard to ignore just the individual day that Henry had. Like I said, he broke his own school record in the 60 run at 7:24. He broke the indoor 200 record and actually ran his all-time personal best in the 200, so that's indoor or outdoor, running 23:01. And then he was actually our anchor in our 4x2 that ran 134.22. So, like I said, he probably had the best day, I don't know, since of any fighting Scot since I've been here. As far as, going 3 for 3, ran 3 races, 3 new school records. It's pretty impressive.
Well, why don't we bring in Henry now to help us talk about
right.
the rest of the meet. Henry, how's it going?
I'm fantastic, especially after that. Coach just fired me up for 2 minutes, dude. That was probably the nicest minute and a half of talking that I've ever heard from Coach. That was phenomenal.
That's definitely the nicest things I've ever said about you.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. We should do that more often.
Yeah. He's getting too comfortable already.
I'm not comfortable. It was a fantastic time on Saturday. I absolutely loved racing. I absolutely loved seeing all my teammates race well. I think with the first meet of the year, usually you just want to race as much as you can so you can kind of get that rust off. And it felt like the rust was already off for the entire team. We just had so many kids do so well. So it was a perfect start to the season.
Yeah, so why don't you just take us through each of your events and specifically how you were able to achieve what you did and break. Was it 3 school records, I guess, when you were doing the relay?
It was 3. Yeah. I was very grateful for all 3. But the first one, running the 60, I love the 60 just because it's the most similar to the 100. That's my favorite race. And I love running indoor because you don't have to worry about weather or any of that stuff. It's kind of just you run as fast as you can. There's no wind, there's no rain, there's no temperature drop, there's no nothing. It's just as fast as you can. And especially running at a track like New Balance that just I know all tracks are made pretty much the same, but New Balance just feels faster, you know what I mean? You put your new spikes on, the New Balance track, it just feels like you're going to go faster. And so I was working out of their blocks before the race, and I felt good, and I felt like my first step was pretty good, which is usually kind of my indicator if I'm going to have a good day or not. I'm if I feel good out of the blocks before the race, then hopefully that means I can have a good race. And so I got ready. I think I was 4th heat. And I was next to kids that I knew were faster than me, which I prefer because then I know that they can push me. And came out of the blocks, pretty much blacked out. Couldn't remember. You're only out there for 7 seconds, so you don't really know what's going on. There's no strategy. There's no thinking. But I remember thinking that I had a good start. Then my first couple steps felt good. And then finished the race. Looked up at the clock, and I was very grateful to see that it was a PR. I was super happy about it. I also knew, I thought other kids on the team were having a great day, so I knew, other kids, especially Chewy, I thought he had the potential to break it as well. I knew he was going to have a great day, and he did have a great day in the 60. But I was very grateful to hold that one at the end of the day.
Yeah, and if I jump in, because you mentioned Chewy there, you told me afterwards that you reserved your celebration until Chewy got a chance to race, because you turned around and you said, oh, great, 7:24, awesome, I broke the school record, but then you looked at Chewy and you were like, I don't know if that's going to stand,
Yeah. I believe in my teammates 100%, and I don't care if it's Chewy or Keenan or Malachi or Eli or anybody else that was in the 60. I think as long as we have a competitor in the 60, then there's a chance for any record to be broken. And so was I the first of all of us to run in the 60 of the day?
I can't remember, honestly. I thought Keenan.
I think Keenan went the heat before me.
Yeah.
But we still had 3 or 4, I think 3 other people in the 60 after I ran. And so I couldn't have been more grateful to run a PR. I promise you I was more fired up than anybody, but I also didn't want to celebrate and look like a fool when I still had 3 other teammates that were going to race who all 3 had potential to run just as fast on any given day. So I told Coach, I was I didn't want to celebrate and look like an idiot if I trusted that my teammates could break it after me. So I didn't do too much celebrating, but I didn't feel like I needed to.
Yeah, so you opened the season last year at 7:50,
right?
I think, and then even in the 200 last year, I think your best time was 23:9.
It was bad, dude.
Well, indoors,
Dude.
So what do you think made the biggest difference in terms of starting the season so sharp this time around?
I think a lot of it came from the practice plan that we've had this year. I think last year going in to the season, I wasn't used to, like, especially in the 200, like, you really need to get to a certain level of, like, sprint endurance and not just, like, running, like, 70% for, like, 200 or 300 meters, but, like, really working at what it feels like to work around, like, 80 or 90% for that long of a distance. And last year, I think since we started a little later with the sprint work, I wasn't as ready to race a 200 at full speed. Whereas this year, I think our training plan has just been perfect, and I've like felt really comfortable at that distance running as fast as I can. Whereas like, I mean, I think I was telling somebody like when we ran that New Balance last year and I ran the 200, like I was bad. Like it felt awful. I came out the first 100, it felt great, it looked great, and then I died on the back half of the race. And I was like,
I remember that. Yes.
yeah, it was bad, dude. And then I just remember like coming off of the last curve, being like, I can't accelerate. Like I was going on the down, like coming off of the curve, being like, I like basically falling towards the finish line. Whereas in this race last weekend, I was coming off of all the curves, I felt great, and I didn't really feel like I couldn't move my legs faster until I was like 5-10 meters before the finish line. Which like for me, regardless of what time I was gonna run, I finished that race and I was just like, that felt way better than it ever has. So like even if it's not a PR, even if it is, like I just knew the training that we had put in made that feel so much better than it has. And then obviously it was 23:01, which is something I'm like super proud of, super grateful for, and definitely a time that I've been working for a while.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to make sure I mentioned with Henry is that he does every little thing you ask. I mean, he does everything I ask of him, but then he does all the little things to make sure that he's ready to go outside of that as well. You know, he's usually at practice 30 minutes early. We even give him a hard time because, you know, his warm-up usually takes about an hour and a half or something, you know. But you can tell every time he comes to practice, he's prepared, he's ready to go. And, again, that translated into the meet. It was very simple to see, like, okay, he's going to be ready to go whenever you ask him to compete, right? And then lastly, I mean, we got to ask you about the 4x2. You know, the thing about the 4x2 record before was 137, which we were not very happy about.
No.
We haven't been happy about that for a while. No. But you don't get a chance to run the 4x2 that often, and it's even more rare that you get a chance to run 4x2 on a banked track. So I think the guys were hungry. I think, you know, the girls ran a 4x2 as well, and they ran 152, and they were it was a really solid time for them. But again, getting the chance to run a 4x2 on a banked track, especially a track like New Balance, we knew that this was an opportunity we didn't want to pass up. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, the boys were fired up for the 4x2.
Yeah, man.
We had one shot to run it last year, and it didn't go the way we wanted. And you don't get to run in a lot of meets that even offer the 4x2 as an event. So, like, when you get a chance, like you said, to run it on a banked track on your first meet, like, everyone's just fired up to do it. Everyone's excited. Everybody wants to do it. And so I felt like we put together a great team to do it. Dan led us off, went to Chewy, then to Keenan, then to me. And I think going into that, like, it was a long meet, so we had a lot of rest time in between the 200 and the 4x2. So everybody was fresh. Everybody was... We knew we had a goal in mind, and I think everybody on the team wanted to hit that goal. And so, like, bringing everyone together before that race went off and kind of just talking to everybody, you could tell everybody was willing to run their best race. And I'm not, like... I ran a great leg for me. Like, I thought it was an awesome leg, but, like, the rest of the team did all the work for me. Like, I got the stick with, like, a 10-meter lead, and I didn't even have to race. I just had to finish what they had already done. Like, we trusted... Dan had an awesome start, giving us the position he did, and then Chewy just ate up everybody on his leg, which was phenomenal to watch in his first indoor 200. He gave the stick to Keenan, and Keenan was a dog and held on to the lead that he made, which was awesome. And so, like, I got the stick, and the boys had already won the race for me. I didn't really have to do... I just had to get across the finish line, which was awesome.
Well, yeah, Chewy... So, Dan Tuning, he had broken the long jump record earlier that day. Then he ran the 60, and like we talked about, he was just 0.08 off of what Henry, the school record Henry had set just a few heats before him. And then, so Chewy comes back. He never ran... I don't even think I put him in an Open 2 outdoors last year. So I don't think he's ever ran a 200 ever. But, you know, that's partly because he's somewhat new to the sport. And, yeah, so to your point, I think in third or fourth position. And then he didn't think much. He just kind of tried to beat everybody in his heat, or his leg, excuse me, and he did that, and it was probably one of the more entertaining. I mean, it was probably the highlight of the day. You guys asked me at dinner afterwards what was the surprise of the meet, and honestly, that leg. Again, I don't think I was expecting. I mean, he ran 22:17 in his split. I don't think I was expecting him to catch all those people, run the leg that he did, run the time that he did. And again, like you said, it made the difference. Not only did we break the school record, we won our heat, which is always an added bonus.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great race.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we're rapidly approaching the Christmas break here.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I believe our next meet isn't until we get back for another month and about a week or so.
Yeah.
So what is a game plan just in terms of training and staying fit over the break and everything? What does that look like for you guys as we get ready for the heart of indoor season once we get back?
Well, I think Coach was telling us that in order to run our best in January, we need to rest as much as possible in December.
That's right.
I think he said lots of Christmas dinners.
Yeah.
Let the diet go out the window.
Extra cookies. That's right.
Lots of reps going from the couch to the fridge. I think that's
right.
What the game plan is, and that should set us up pretty well in January.
Watching, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it. Just about. No. Well, everybody, so they're on a 5-week break where they train on their own. Everybody's got training plans. Every event group has a training plan to follow. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think we've got a lot of momentum pretty much in all of our event groups. I said to him yesterday, I said that, taking a rest mentally and things like that is good, but it's also, I believe I also said it's a great time to train, because you don't have classes. You can kind of practice when it's convenient for you, but it's also, so everybody's going to their different contexts, whether, access to a track, access to a weight room, things like that. They got to figure those things out. So we did emphasize if we want to keep this momentum going, the next 5 weeks are going to be really crucial for, their training plan and things like that. We are back at the track at New Balance that first Saturday, the second Saturday of January, our first Saturday back. So they move in January 7th, and then we race 6 days later. And so we'll see pretty early how well people trained over the break. I don't know, Henry, seriously though.
Yeah.
How do you stay in shape over the break?
It takes a lot of focus. I think it's very easy to stay in shape and do what Coach tells us to do when we're all at school, but it's very hard to convince yourself to do all that when you're at home and you have to drive to the track or drive to a gym to get a workout in, and kind of like not everything is right at the doorstep for you to be able to work. It's like you have to actually plan out your workouts and stuff. But I think times like that December, early January are kind of where you separate, who's actually going to be great in the spring. Because, I mean, when you look at it, during the fall and the spring, every single team in the conference works out 3 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. And so, what are we going to do that separates us from those teams and from those runners? And that's exactly, you find that out in December when nobody's together, nobody's technically allowed to be coached. It's who's going to put in the work and be ready in January. That's why I love that we have a meet on the 13th, because we come back, we have a week together, and then we race. So, your race is going to be a direct result of the work that you either continued to put in December or didn't put in December, and it's going to show on the track. And so I just think that motivates me more than enough. That fuels me to be okay, I need to stay in shape. I need to, I can't be skipping workouts. And I just hope that it motivates the team the same way.
Me too.
We'll see.
All right, well, we will look forward to that when we get back. In the meantime, thank you all, as always, for listening, and we will see you after Christmas break on the next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.